Hello everyone, Meteorologist Shane Smith here with a little bit of a video blog here on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, talking about the potential for a upcoming winter storm for much of Kentucky and West Virginia. The question is how much snow, how much rain, and what all is exactly going to happen. So it is Friday, December 10th, 2010. It's about 1:30 a.m. as I'm recording this. Took a little bit longer to get started than I wanted, but let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to start off this morning by taking a look at the GFS forecasting model. This is the primary American forecasting model. We are taking a look at Saturday at 7 p.m. And as you can see, a low pressure system is heading up towards the Great Lakes. We got the cold front trailing down to the south. Rain breaking out across central Kentucky, and maybe even a little bit of frozen precipitation back into southern Indiana. Nothing going on in West Virginia by this point. Go ahead and also take a look at some of the other forecasting models as we're going through this to map out exactly what this storm is going to do and what it's going to bring to you at different time periods. So here's the NAM forecasting model, same time period, Saturday 7 o'clock at night. Pretty much same thing. As far as precipitation type goes, if you're seeing any kind of precipitation in Kentucky, it's mainly going to be rain at this point. Maybe a few flurries in West Virginia, although I'll be highly skeptical of that. We're going to have to wait and see how the temperatures play out tomorrow evening. I know I've got my forecast highs for tomorrow into the mid 40s, so we're going to have a pretty sharp drop off for those temperatures to get cold enough for any wintry precipitation Saturday evening. Sunday 1 a.m. we're seeing that low pressure move off to the east, almost over into the eastern Great Lakes by this point. Rain changing to snow for most of Kentucky by this point. I'd say back towards Louisville, Bowling Green, light snow showers possible. The I-75 corridor at this point probably going to be seeing rain changing to snow, and I think far eastern Kentucky and all of West Virginia still seeing rain at this point. Now there is something interesting I want to point out on the NAM model. It's showing something pretty similar, although I want to circle this area just off to the south. Notice how here on the NAM, that is bringing up a secondary low pressure system forming. That could bring some interesting factors into play if that comes to fruition. It's a little bit different than the GFS in that regard. Depending on if that low forms and how strong it becomes, it could drag a little bit more moisture up into this system and also send some warm air over top of the cold air as it comes clashing in. And that might pose some interesting concerns along the Kentucky-Tennessee border for a little bit of icing. Not a very big concern at this point. I think once that cold air comes crashing in, you're going to be seeing mainly snow. But that is just a little something to keep your eye on. Temperature-wise, at 1 a.m. Sunday morning, the freezing line still right along the I-75 corridor, right in there. I think by that point, London, Lexington, right on that transition line. Places like Hazard, Pikeville, Kentucky, staying all rain at that point. And I think most of West Virginia is even warm enough for rain at that point. Moving on forward, precipitation type. GFS is showing the rain snow line right along I-75. I was saying rain to the east, snow to the west. NAM going all rain, not necessarily buying that. Taking a look at the GFS by Sunday morning at 7 a.m. I think by this point, most everyone listening to this video cast in Kentucky and West Virginia would be seeing snow by this point. Same thing from the NAM, although it is going just a little bit slower with the cold air moving in. That cold air being shown by that blue line right through there. That is the freezing line at about 5,000 feet, but for our purposes, you can say that's pretty much going to be the rain-snow line. I think it's going to be a little bit farther east than what the NAM is showing, but once again, there's that low pressure off to the south that is not showing up on the GFS, and once again, that could throw a few kinks into the forecast. That's something I'll be keeping an eye on going into tomorrow, whether or not that actually develops. Temperature-wise, by this point, Kentucky completely below freezing, most of West Virginia below freezing at this point, so most of the precipitation, at least according to the GFS, going to be snow by this point, and I think that's a fairly safe bet. Sunday 1 p.m. looking at the GFS once again, we get another low pressure system developing off the coast. It's moving up towards the northeast, slinging a little bit of moisture up into the New England states. Mainly rain for those folks. By this point here, Kentucky, West Virginia, we are dealing with all wintry precipitation. Moving on forward, let's see what we've got next. Same time period, just with the NAM. Once again, a little bit slower moving that freezing line through. I'm leaning a little bit more towards the GFS though. Still going to be very cold by Sunday afternoon. Most of us going to be seeing temperatures below freezing. So all frozen precipitation at this point, all snow. Winds are also going to be cranking up across Kentucky and West Virginia during the storm. 20, 40 mile per hour wind gust, easy. And precipitation type by this point, once again, all snow. Saturday or Sunday evening, 7 o'clock, according to the NAM model. I want to point out this little area of dry air getting wrapped into the system. That's what we call a dry slot. That's very typical with bigger storms, and what that means is we're going to have a little bit of a break in the action. We're going to have snow early in the day Sunday in Kentucky, around noontime in West Virginia, and then you're going to see a break in the afternoon in Kentucky, and I think a break from the snow by Sunday evening in West Virginia. Keeping this thing on moving, 1 a.m., still looking at the NAM model. Upslope snow begins. Moisture coming in off the Great Lakes, going up the mountains. Perfect recipe for a little bit of upslope snow. So anywhere seeing precipitation Monday morning, some snow showers, and these could be a little bit heavy side. I know it's only showing a light green here on the forecasting model, but with temperatures dropping as much as they're going to, we could be seeing 20s by this point, maybe even a few teens in some locations. Those snow ratios are going to go higher. Normally you figure for every 1 inch of liquid precipitation you get about 10 inches of frozen. Well, by this point you might be seeing ratios of around 20 to 30 to 1. So the colder it gets, the more snow you're going to see, because it just takes less liquid to get more frozen precipitation when it gets that cold. Same time period, Monday 1 a.m. on the GFS, showing that dry slot well off to the east, upslope still going temperature wise. Teens in Kentucky, maybe lower teens, maybe a few single digits popping up into West Virginia. Skipping on ahead a bit until this is Monday 1 o'clock according to the GFS model. I-75 corridor should be drying out by this point. Eastern Kentucky still seeing snow. West Virginia still seeing plenty of snow temperature wise. Teens once again in the Kentuckys, maybe 20s back towards Bowling Green. The mountains of West Virginia, single digits possible. Very cold air, probably even colder than what we saw at the beginning of this week here in southern West Virginia. Moving on forward to Tuesday morning, 1 a.m. Snow mainly confined to the highest elevations of eastern Kentucky and most of West Virginia at this point. Temperatures Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. Yeah, down near zero in the mountains of West Virginia, and maybe even as far north as Cincinnati, could see some single digits. I think lower teens, southern Kentucky, right around Lexington, upper single digits, so some pretty cold air moving into the area. Tuesday afternoon, 1 o'clock, snow mainly just in the highest elevations of West Virginia at this point. Temperatures rebounding into the 20s in southern Kentucky for your highs on Tuesday. Teens around Lexington, up towards Covington, back over towards the river cities in Ohio, places like Ironton. Over in West Virginia, we are talking temperatures only getting up into the mid-teens. Wind chills likely below zero. And Wednesday, high pressure should begin to move in and will clear up the snow for West Virginia. So let's talk totals real quick. I think out in western Kentucky you can expect less than an inch. From Louisville over to Lexington down towards Somerset, 1 to 3 inches. London, my hometown, gotta take care of my hometown folks. I think 2-3 inches by Monday evening is a good bet. Maybe a little bit more if you see a more intense snow squall. We're going to call a general 2 to 4 inches between that light blue and pink line. I think most of eastern Kentucky picking up 3 to 7, although 5 to 9 inches is possible in the highest elevations of Harlan, Letcher, and Pike counties. Coalfields of West Virginia, 3 to 7, a good bet. Pretty similar totals to what we saw with this last storm. 5 to 10 for Fayette, Raleigh County, the mountains of Summers, Greenbrier, Pocahontas, Nicholas County, and the highest elevations from, say, Quinwood, West Virginia, over towards Snowshoe, 8 inches plus easy by Monday night. And then we may even top on another additional 2 to 4 inches in southern West Virginia due to the upslope on Tuesday. So we could see some pretty decent totals across southern West Virginia by Tuesday. Maybe just even a little bit higher than what we saw with this first round of snow we had this week. Well, that's all the time I have. I got the forecast coming up on WOAY at 6 a.m., and I will see you then.